well, it's that time of year again. I've decided that this year I'm actually going to play through the game instead of spending 100 hours doing nothing but shiny hunting. Shining pearl. For full transparency, I was gifted a digital copy of Pokemon Violet by Pokemon. Thank you very much. I did also buy a physical copy of Scarlet. I haven't been told what to say in this video by Pokemon. These are all unfiltered thoughts from my little head. Very obvious Scarlet and Violet spoilers. Don't watch if you don't want to see them. Okay, you've had your warning. So what I look forward to the most every new generation are the new Pokemon designs. And I can confirm there are plenty of babies in Gen 9. I love so many of the designs. I always find that when a new gen comes out, I never know how to feel about the new Pokemon. What are these Digimon looking things? But then I look back at them a few minutes later and I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. I think Sprigatito gets the best final evolution of the starters. I adore that entire line. I don't care if it stands up, it's a cat. I was always going to like it. Quaxly's final evolution's looking nice. And Fuecoco. I didn't really like Skeledirge at first. I think the way its colours look in game make it look like a clown, which I do not like. But now I'm seeing more of its official art and I'm slowly coming round. Like every time I look at him, he gets a little bit cooler. At this moment in time, my faves this gen in no particular order are Smoliv, Darkspun, Finazon and Palafin, Tatsugiri, Clodsire, and Espathra. I regret to say that nothing is ever going to make me like the eyeliner Magneton. I mean, Sandy shocks. The Paldea Pokédex is kind of all over the place though. It feels like they couldn't really settle on one theme for this gen, so they were just like, let's do 5 different things. You've got evolutions for older Pokemon, one regional exclusive evolution, convergent Pokemon, ancient Pokemon, and future Pokemon. It's a lot. I have to say, I think Scarlet gets the better deal for version exclusives. Look at Roaring Moon. Is this not the coolest thing you've ever seen? Enough said. I can't say that I had Popeye Goldfish legendary Pokemon on my bingo card for this game, but I don't have a problem with it. Cursed Treasures are the theme for this legendary quartet, and I think they're awesome. CandyEvie approved. Something I absolutely adore is the new Pokédex layout. Instead of just showing the models of the sprites, every single Pokemon has its own unique photo cover. This is such a cute idea that adds so much depth to each Pokédex entry. Squawkabilly is based on a monk parakeet, an invasive species that's now common around Spanish cities. So the Pokédex cover shows a whole flock of them causing a nuisance in Levincia. Just like how in Johto, Jasmine's Ampharos lights up the Glitter Lighthouse. Paldea's Pokédex cover for Ampharos has him at a lighthouse too. And Drifloon is known for snatching small children away. So of course its Pokédex cover shows it trying to snatch a small child away. There's also Swalot. I'm going to be vague and brief about the story because I don't want to give too many spoilers, even though I gave a spoiler warning. There are 3 different storyline paths that you can complete in Scarlet and Violet, and at the end they come together in a big finale that wraps everything up. This is definitely one of the best games yet in terms of story direction. The finale was super gripping and had incredibly interesting character motivations. I find recent Pokemon games can be a bit hit or miss story-wise. It's either something very predictable or, wait, are you telling me that this woman is so obsessed with this jellyfish space monster that she forced her child to cosplay it? And there's not much in between. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's story, amazing. Also stating the obvious, Nemona is the best rival character we've had for several games. I do not take any alternate opinions on this. Also, I'm making a bet right now on when they're gonna start selling Penny's bag on Pokemon Center. I give it 6 months, a year at most. It's an Eevee bag. It'd sell out in 10 minutes. I'm not usually a fan of big open world games, but I tried to go into Scarlet and Violet with a positive outlook. I wasn't expecting to like Legends Arceus, but I ended up loving it, so I figured I should be open-minded with these games. I say it's an open world game, but in reality there is still a fairly linear path that you have to go down. There's no sort of level scaling, so there is still very much a recommended order that you should go in. It's like, yeah, you can challenge the gyms in any order you want, but not that one, it'll mess you up. I love so many of the new towns and cities. There's clearly been a lot of research and love put into the designs. Alphanada has all these little mosaic pieces of the Gen 1 menu sprites and it looks so cool. Or even just your bedroom. Something as simple as the little Pokemon stickers or the Hoppip plant. I am simple. I like cute Pokemon art. It's the small, thoughtful touches like this that make me love exploring a new region. But as gorgeous as some of these locations are, there's not an awful lot of life in them. I remember being 11 and seeing a trailer for Black and White. It showed the player walking around Castelia City and it just looks so immense and exciting. Castelia City isn't even that big by today's standards, but size doesn't matter. What makes the city feel so big is the amount of things there are to do. All of the different NPC interactions locations and buildings to explore. They then built on this again with X and Y's Lumio City. There was so much to see there that they had to have a taxi service to help you around the city. And at first glance, this is what Mesagoza looks like. It's a big, shiny new city. I'm gonna really sink my teeth into it and explore. But then you realize there isn't that depth that we're used to from Pokemon games. When you can't talk to 90% of the NPCs, and even the ones you can talk to don't really have anything of note to say, it doesn't really feel as alive. And then you find that you can't actually enter any of the buildings here. You can change your haircut, buy clothes and food. There are several shops each for different types of clothes and food instead of just putting them all in one place, which I don't really understand. I can only assume it's like this to try and fill up the space because this is how it is in every town. He ain't sneaky, I noticed. But it's not like you can even go in these shops like before. They just shove a menu in your face as soon as you open the door. It's very poor manners. You gotta let me sit down and order the free tap water first. Every single town is like this, and it is a shame. I leave each town knowing as much about it as when I first entered it. I must stress any disappointment I have here is from a place of love for the series. I want to know more about these places. I'm nosy. I want to barge into people's homes uninvited. I thought the lack of towns in Legends Arceus would bother me, but it didn't. There was only one town, but it felt so alive. The NPCs all had their own names, which was a first for Pokemon. All of the different side quests have you talking to them and finding out more about the world. In Paldea, we get... Pokemon. There are plenty of quality of life improvements I am incredibly thankful for. Best among these is the new breeding system. So there aren't daycares anymore. You're the daycare. When you have a picnic, eggs can appear in your basket based on the Pokemon you have in your party. And the eggs appear based on how much time has passed as opposed to steps taken like in previous games. On its own, it can be really slow, but once you start making sandwiches that increase how often eggs appear, it's kind of amazing. I never liked the grind of constantly riding back and forth to collect eggs, but since the eggs also stack here, I can just leave my Switch for a few minutes, maybe go do some chores I've been putting off, come back and like magic, there's 10 eggs in my basket. You guys have been busy. Also, hatching eggs is so much faster than it's ever been. If there's a game to shiny hunt with the Masuda method, it's this one. It was strange going through an entire game not having to do a single non-story trainer battle, because they're optional now. It's weird, I remember when I was little, all I'd want to do in Pokemon Ruby was rematch all the trainers, but as the games went on, I'd skip past them more and more, so I didn't really miss it. With the new auto battle feature, you can earn experience without taking part in any actual battles, so I wasn't underleveled. I may have decimated an entire ecosystem in my wake, but at least my Pokemon weren't underleveled. So all in all, there are lots of improvements, but it's frustrating when they take out quality of life improvements from prior games for seemingly no reason. Things like in Legends Arceus, you could release multiple Pokemon at once. It was great. Not anymore. Another such change I noticed is that you can no longer rename Pokemon that are in your boxes. Like in Let's Go, you don't need to go to the name rater and you can just nickname them straight from your party, which is great. Brilliant! But while in Let's Go, Sword and Shield, and BDSP, you can also do this while they're in the box, in Scarlet and Violet you can't anymore. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but for me personally, when I have to give 1,000 different Pokemon nicknames for an undisclosed video project that definitely doesn't involve surprise trades, having to manually move all of these Pokemon into your party to nickname them is pretty inconvenient. Character customization is simultaneously so much better, but also not. I always used to find that they never had the right shade of brown for my hair, but I'm eating good in Scarlet and Violet. They got me covered. There are more options to customize your basic appearance than ever before, but that's about where it ends. You're stuck with 4 different uniform options that aren't the most appealing. They do have some options in terms of bags, shoes, or glasses, but it doesn't really do much to help, and you just end up blending in with all of the NPCs that are wearing the exact same outfit as you. I don't need anything huge. Let's Go, for example, has a pretty small selection of clothes, but in my opinion, they're some of the best in the whole series. You've got themed outfits for all of the evolutions, Team Rocket outfits, it's cool! But to steal a tweet from my friend Patters, the vibe from this outfit is more like Pokemon get shoved in a locker version. Something I see a lot of people talking about is how shiny Pokemon are handled in this game. So like Legends Arceus, shinies now appear as shiny in the overworld, which is huge for shiny hunters, but there's a catch. Where is my sparkling sound? This is very important. I need my shiny Pokemon to make a little sparkle noise when I find it. In Legends Arceus, they make a sparkling sound so you know when you found a shiny. In Scarlet and Violet, it's silent, which means that you might run right past a shiny and not even know it. For the ones that don't have very noticeable differences, it's hard mode. It's not so bad for me because I'm a total shiny nerd and I know what they all look like, but for most players, I imagine it can be quite disheartening. I've found several shinies that are extremely difficult to spot, and I know that if I wasn't on my guard, I probably would have just run straight past them. Other than this though, Scarlet and Violet are a shiny hunter's dream. Because there are Pokemon absolutely everywhere, you inevitably end up finding more shinies. I have 10 at the time of writing this script, none of which I've hunted for. I've been avoiding the great tusk in the room, but it would be disingenuous of me to not talk about the various performance issues this game has. I'm sorry, but you knew it was coming. I usually avoid talking about this stuff because I'm just Lucy that likes to play her little Pokemon game. I know next to nothing about the intricacies of game development. I play Pokemon because I like Pokemon. If I cared about the finest quality trees, I'd play Tree Simulator, which is a real thing. So of course, when prior to the game coming out, I saw people online getting upset about the graphics like they usually do, I didn't really care. But after having played the game, even I have questions. There's a big difference between a game not being what you want it to be graphically and having actual functionality issues at times, which there are in Scarlet and Violet. I have had a lot of fun playing this game, like a lot. But with graphical bugs and various glitches being an almost universal thing for most players, there are things that you're gonna have to look past. When these things happen, I try not to let it spoil my experience. If anything, it adds to it. When I'm finding random Pokemon stuck indoors, Pokemon getting buried alive, or that one time a cutscene glitched and I walked through a character, it's not necessarily for the right reasons, but I'm certainly having fun. Funny graphical glitches are one thing, but the truth is that this game does struggle with performance in a way I've never seen from Pokemon. I'm sure you all know about the frame rate issues, so I won't dwell on that too much, but there's more than that. Every Pokemon model in the box takes 2 seconds each to load. Even the menu sprites in boxes aren't loaded when you switch between boxes. Even to me, it is noticeable. I'm a Pokemon master, I don't have 2 seconds to spare. I wonder how much it even matters to the average player though. I was talking about the new games with my older sister the other day. She likes Pokemon but isn't quite as obsessively into it as I am. I asked her what she thought of all the bugs and performance issues and she was like, what? For some players, these issues don't matter at all and they're able to enjoy the game and have fun. But for some people, this might make them throw their Switch down and swear to never play Pokemon again. I wouldn't go that far. But it is a little sad for me to see that this game would have benefited from more time in the development oven. It's beside the point though. Scarlet and Violet have already had the most successful launch in Nintendo history, selling a combined 10 million copies. As a Pokemon fan, I'm ecstatic that my favorite series is doing so well, but also conflicted about the precedent it sets. The model for new releases are almost certainly going to be DLC based from here on out, and it can be a bit disheartening knowing it's unlikely that Pokemon games are gonna have anywhere near as much post-game content as in past gens. To be fair, this has been a trend for quite some time in Pokemon. I remember I was sad when there was no Battle Frontier and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's been 8 years and I'm still not over it, but it's definitely gotten more noticeable as the games have gone on. A lot of the games I grew up on had these massive areas that you could only explore after the main game. Like the Johto games just straight up have another region. The closest we've gotten to this recently has been the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra, paid DLC. I just want a couple of extra towns and routes in the main game. Please throw me a bone. Even series staples are no longer series staples. Scarlet and Violet are the first games to not have some variant of a battle tower since it was introduced in Crystal. This is the first Pokemon game ever where you can't rebattle the Elite Four and Champion. It's hard not to feel like going forward, elements of the game that may have been included in a regular release could end up locked behind DLC. But then again, Pokemon have made many follow-up versions with extra content before, and I've always eaten that up very happily, so maybe I just need to get with the times. Again, I know next to nothing about release schedules and game development, but it was always a little odd to me that Game Freak were releasing 2 mainline games in the same year. I think they could have very easily released Arceus instead of Scarlet and Violet, or perhaps just released some kind of paid DLC for it like they did with Sword and Shield. Don't get me wrong, the free update was great, but I'm a Pokemon fan. They know full well I would have been willing to throw my money at them. Then there would have been an extra year before Gen 9 had to come out, and perhaps then we wouldn't be seeing some of what we're seeing now. Or maybe none of that was feasible and I'm talking total nonsense. Also a possibility. I know things are probably much more complicated than that. Pokemon is a mass media franchise with so many other kinds of media and merchandise releases to take into consideration. It is easy to go on Twitter and make a very angry tweet at the developers after seeing all of these performance issues. Please don't do that. But there are clearly other factors at play on a management level here. So what's the takeaway? Well, I think it's okay to acknowledge that there are obviously issues, but I think it's also okay to enjoy the game in spite of them. At the end of the day, this generation gave me Smoliv, and I think that's something to be happy about. Hello, sorry for the jank end card. I am recording this in the bathroom at a New Year's party. I just want to say thanks for supporting the videos this year and to also announce that I'll be doing my Magnemite surprise trade livestream on the 7th of January around 7 PM UK time. Alright, that's it. Happy New Year. Bye!